There's 2 spots over there. One more up the truck.
Looks like 2 more. Looks like 2 more.
You know what? We can squeeze them in. What time is it? 8:30. Just take one off.
To want to
Right. Yes.
push one in.
Yes. Push one in and bring down.
He's gonna bring.
He's gonna bring it in.
This is the
By
wrong.
the time we get up there, he's gonna be.
We just moved this here.
So we just have to make these.
Try to fluff it a little bit. And then I can move this one.
No, he's coming up with 2 more. He'll be ready.
You're right. We didn't. Tim, this is Robert Eaglesen. This is the attorney from Motley Rice. Yes.
Thank you. I do all these things. That's right.
They're all coming up that too. All the families are coming. They'll just file in. If somebody, like Bobby, you're looking at people saying, like, look at us.
See, he was weird.
Yeah, we didn't. We didn't.
Looking good, brother.
We said before briefly in court, but Deborah Garcia.
In court? Today is a good day. We got one. When you get all lost in this
They look great. They do. Yeah. Thank you for bringing them. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sorry, we heard about it. Yeah. We're in traffic. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, everybody ready? Everybody ready?
Oh, no. Yeah. Thank you. That's fine. Great, thank you.
Everybody come on up. We are ready to get this started. What happened to Brett? There he is. All right, let's get everybody come together. Come together.
You want to take lanyards off?
Right now.
Lanyards.
Yes, if you have a voices lanyard, take it off or just throw it in behind
I
you.
was using this for this. But
Yeah, that's okay.
That's fine.
That's okay. Do we all? We're all in? Come on over here. Oh, yay, Mary. Yeah, there's a little bit more room down here if somebody wants to file down this way. Is everyone comfortable where they're standing? Okay. All right, we're going to begin. So thank you very much for coming. And I'm going to introduce Brett Eaglesen from 9/11 Justice. He will be speaking first, and I will be following after him, and then we'll take questions. But we want to do one thing first. Okay, everybody, victory.
Oh, gotta get you in too.
I need a hand.
Okay. You guys got it?
Got it? Okay. Thank you. Okay, Brett, it's all yours.
I just want to say thank you for everyone coming. It's hard to believe that as we sit here in the shadows of where the Twin Towers once stood, it's been 24 years. And it's been 24 years of pain and anguish and fighting for our families. What happened to this community, what happened to America that day was horrific. However, what's happening currently and what's been happening for the past 24 years has been an abomination. Our government, our country, has kept key documents away. They buried the documents day 2 when our FBI knew the links and the ties back to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. My dad died that day. He had every single opportunity to leave the building. He was on the 17th floor. He called us after both planes had hit. He said he was helping with the evacuation efforts and he was going to bring radios to the FDNY because they were having a hard time communicating. He gave his life to his fellow countrymen to save others. There are thousands of stories like that from that day. Every one of the people that were murdered on live television were true American patriots and heroes. And they are sick, and they are turning in their graves by the way that this country is treating their loved ones. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a historic landmark decision in federal court. The United States federal judge said the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia needs to stand trial. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence directly correlating. These are the judge's words. These are not the family's words. These are not the lawyer's words. A federal judge has said that it is reasonable to consider, it is reasonable to say that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia employed its agents to assist the hijackers. Let that sit in again because it bears repeating. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia employed its agents to assist the hijackers. And we have American lobbyists and we have American lawyers defending them. We have live golfers taking money hands over fists, and yet these families mourn. This isn't just once a day or a time a year. This is every day we wage this fight. And we're looking for a leader, and we're looking for someone with the courage to stand up for these families. Put America first, not Saudi Arabia. Have the courage to do what's right. My dad did. Terry's husband did. The FDNY did. The NYPD did. Thousands of us did. If our government had just even an iota of the courage that our family members had, this would have been over 20 years ago. So we need to call attention to this. We need to push back and fight as hard as we can. We're not going anywhere. We're never going to give up until we have truth, justice, and accountability. I'll turn it over to Terry.
Did you want to talk about the support network at all?
So just wanted to mention, explain a little bit about the evidence that we have. So what the federal judge has said and what he's ruled on is he's ruling on the indefensible facts, the irrefutable facts. And he took the careful time to write a 45-page decision. It took him 13 months, but he made a decision based on what is known to be 100% true. He did not make a decision on emotion, on supposition. He made a decision on what can be known or what is known as facts. And the fact is that there were at least 13 Saudi government officials connected to the Ministry of Islamic Affairs. They were working and operating in and out of the Saudi consulates and the Saudi embassies. They were funneling support from the Ministry of Islamic Affairs in Washington, D.C., to their embassies in San Diego, to the hijackers' handlers, right down to the hijackers themselves. And what we now know is that more than 2 years before the hijackers arrived, the Saudi government sent an advanced team. Sudan and Sudairi are the names of two individuals who many believe are Saudi intelligence agents. We can't prove that, but we do know that Omar al-Bayoumi was, as according to the FBI, a paid co-optee of Saudi intelligence. So what we now know, and what we know to be fact, is that the Saudi government sent this advanced team, Sudan and Sudairi. They landed here in the United States. They were welcomed into the King Fahd Mosque in Southern California, and then they made a trek across this country. And we were able to document each step, where they stayed, who they stayed with. And miraculously, when the hijackers landed here, they took the same exact steps. They stopped at the same hotels, they stopped at the same houses. So we now know that Sudan and Sudairi, who were told by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to come here, we know they were plotting the course. If anybody knows anything about Al-Qaeda, they'll tell you Al-Qaeda are meticulous planners. There is no way Al-Qaeda would have sent 19 thugs here with no knowledge of English, no money, no idea how to fly a plane, no experience of Western culture, and let them fend for themselves and pull off the most consequential and devastating attack in this country's history. It simply wasn't possible. They had to have had help. They had to have a support network, and that support network, we now know, a judge now knows, came in the form of the Saudi government. There's another gentleman, Omar al-Bayoumi. This is the man who our own FBI says was working for Saudi intelligence. In the days after the attacks, the FBI asked Scotland Yard, the MPS police, to raid his apartment. What they found is incredible. Horrific, actually. They found that Omar al-Bayoumi had a notebook. And in that notebook, he had the handwritten Al-Qaeda code names for the hijackers. They're called kunyas. Nobody knows what your kunya is unless you know them personally. So it shows that Bayoumi had foreknowledge that these Al-Qaeda hijackers, that these terrorists, he knew them by their code name, written in a book. He had a sketch of an airplane, and next to that sketch was an algorithm. The FBI says that algorithm is a rudimentary way of how to fly a plane onto a target into the horizon. So we had foreknowledge of the modus of the attack. Again, I want to remind you, this is a Saudi government intelligence agent. He demonstrates foreknowledge of the mode of the attack by having an airplane with an algorithm. He demonstrates that he knows that the people that he's helping in Southern California are Al-Qaeda terrorists intent on doing harm because he has their combative Al-Qaeda kunya. He has their name, their code name. And the third thing, the most egregious, is he has a video targeting the United States Capitol. So he knows the mode of the attack with the plane. He knows who's going to do the attack with knowing the Al-Qaeda hijackers' code names, and he knows where that attack is supposed to happen because he's casing the United States Capitol and talking about the structural support networks, the ingresses and the egresses, and he's referring to the plan. All this, the judges said, it's too much. It's a bridge too far. But this is what we've all known for 20 years. It's time for America to learn what we've been fighting. And we're pleading for the American media, for President Trump, for everybody to join in unity. This is the most bipartisan thing that we can do as a country. This is the best thing that we can do for the memories of our loved ones, is let's stand up for what's right and just, and let's have truth, accountability, and closure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brett. I'm Terry Strada, and I am the National Chair for 9/11 Families United. And in my role, I work with the families as a liaison between us, Congress, the media, and so on. Thank you for being here, and I might be a little repetitive. That's the disadvantage of going second, but I also might have some things Brett didn't say. No matter what challenges we have faced over the last 2 decades, when on September 11th, 2001, all of our lives were forever changed by the largest terrorist attack the world has ever witnessed, hope has been our guiding light. Hope refers to a feeling of anticipation and desire for a positive future outcome. It gets you through the difficult times, and it is needed for productive change. For 2 decades, I have had hope while proudly advocating for Saudi accountability. Today, through everyone's perseverance and hard work, our hope for truth, accountability, and justice has finally achieved success. After years of very hard work to convince the court that we deserve to have our claims against Saudi Arabia heard in court, a federal judge spent a full year to look at all the evidence, and that judge rejected 24 years of Saudi Arabia's denying and lying, and ruled there is credible evidence the government of Saudi Arabia played a witting role in helping the 9/11 hijackers with their terrorist activity, and that the kingdom offered no credible evidence to counter the evidence produced by the plaintiff's legal team. 24 years earlier, the hope and fight for justice is finally here. The judge ruled we will have our day in court, and this case will go to trial. Everything Brett just laid out has taken years to bring about. To go from what we knew about the support network over a decade ago from former Senator Bob Graham, who tirelessly advocated for the truth about its purpose, the support network, to what the federal court has now found to be factual based on the evidence considered. It is important to note, after 24 years of listening to the kingdom misconstrue a single passage from the 9/11 Commission report to suggest wrongly that the Commission exonerated Saudi Arabia, we can now say unequivocally it did not exonerate the kingdom. Saudi Arabia's false narrative about its so-called exoneration was allowed to persist for almost a quarter century, in very large part because the FBI, from the very start and in the many years that have followed, has allowed it to persist by hiding evidence that would have incriminated Saudi Arabia and its agents. Immediately after the attacks, the FBI had incriminating evidence, as Brett was saying, in its possession for use in interrogating a Saudi agent, Omar al-Bayoumi, that they had in custody, who was, even then, known to be at the core of the attack plan, but prevented its use during the interrogation and encouraged the release of the Saudi agent. Based on the information uncovered in the civil litigation against Saudi Arabia, mostly produced by UK authorities, and from the information disclosed in the Sunday Times article out in London, or from London, published just this past weekend, we now know in the days after the attacks, US authorities requested that the UK authorities raid Bayoumi's home in the UK, seize that evidence, and detain Bayoumi. After his home was raided, the evidence was seized, bagged, and given to US authorities, who were supposed to have then assessed the evidence for use in their UK's authorities' interrogation of Bayoumi. Only that never happened. And based on the information uncovered in the Sunday Times, we now know that the FBI began its interference with the 9/11 investigation within weeks of the brutal attack on the United States. Because according to the UK police authority sources quoted in the Sunday Times, the FBI never shared the information with the officers who were interrogating Bayoumi, who was held in custody for a week. Likewise, in the events months and years after the attacks, the FBI did not make any of the evidence it had public. It did not assess it or use it to investigate the links between Saudi agents and the attacks. It never shared the evidence with the FBI San Diego field office in charge of investigating the time that Bayoumi and two of the hijackers spent in San Diego. It never shared it with those working with the FBI's Operation Encore, the very group within the FBI looking at the Saudi connections to the 9/11 attacks. It never shared the evidence with the Congressional Joint Inquiry into intelligence activities before and after the attacks. It never shared it in its entirety with the 9/11 Commission. Then, and in the decades that followed, the FBI continued to prevent disclosure of the most incriminating evidence against Saudi Arabia. It also never, wow, there were so many nevers, it never gave all of the incriminating evidence in response to a 2018 subpoena served on them for the civil suit against Saudi Arabia, or in response to President Biden's executive order 14040 mandating a declassification review of all 9/11 investigative documents. Instead, the FBI continued to hide the evidence and dismissed what pointed directly at Saudi Arabia. That conduct allowed the lies to persist and prevented analysis of the evidence that would have unmasked the lies. For 24 years, past FBIs under 4 administrations have purposefully withheld evidence and lied to all of us. Imagine what the public reaction would have been back in 2001, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and if they had had this information. You know, what would the outrage be? What would the accountability have been screaming? It all would have been screaming to hold Saudi Arabia accountable. It would have dominated the news and political discourse. It should not be any different just because the FBI swept it all under the rug for 24 years. Just this Monday, prompted by the Sunday Times article, Great Britain authorities, they found the FBI's actions so egregious that they asked for an emergency session in Parliament with questions about all of this. And they demanded, and I quote, "A full investigation by the Intelligence and Security Committee is needed. It must investigate why the FBI clearly avoided extraditing Mr. al-Bayoumi and exactly what was the involvement of the Saudi government, in particular their Ministry of Islamic Affairs and Secret Service. Where are our public officials commanding similar accountability for the lack of transparency which has long protected the Saudis for their complicity in the atrocious murder of our loved ones? We, the victims' families and survivors, want answers, and the American people deserve to know all the details about the handling of this evidence and who made the decisions to deceive not one, but 2 nations. The only reason we are seeing any of this now is because of our lawsuit. Now, with broader discovery, what other deep, dark secrets will we uncover? I hope for all our sakes that this will progress without the FBI acting as hoarding gatekeepers of the truth, and that the roadblocks that they have put in place over the years will be removed. Too many victims, family members, and survivors have gone to their graves without justice. I hope the original pioneers for our quest for justice, who are no longer with us, like Bill Doyle, Tom Burnett Sr., Jack Quinn, Stephen Kozan, and Ron Motley, just to name a few. I hope they're looking down, smiling, and proud of what we have accomplished. While parents are growing old and weary, there were over 3,000 children who lost a parent on 9/11. And like Brett here and Angela Mistrulli, who could not be with us today, and many others that have grown into adults and have joined this wretched fight with great determination and fortitude and hope, your parents would be so proud of you. I know I am. Never forget is not just a slogan to be uttered once a year and forgotten the remaining 364 days. It is a pledge to do everything in our power to attain justice for those who were murdered and who suffered grievous injuries, and to ensure our country is never again as vulnerable as it was on September 11th, 2001. We cannot do that if the FBI and other government agencies continue to provide cover for the kingdom and other terrorist sponsors and help them to evade accountability. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are open for questions.
You know, one thing Terry said that I just wanted to reiterate because I feel it's so important is that how our government knew so early on. And for 24 years, we heard the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Terry can attest to this, when we're in the halls of Washington, D.C., Terry's fighting to get JASTA passed. Their talking points are, well, the 9/11 Commission, the 9/11 Commission, the 9/11 Commission, that's all we heard. That was their only defense.
It's the only defense they use in the courtroom.
It's the only defense they had. So it's so important to let history be known that the 9/11 Commission at this point is null and void. How can you have an accurate 9/11 Commission when the most salacious and the most damning materials were kept from you? So I think that point is what is so powerful,
Right.
and I just wanted to restate that.
Thanks. Oh, are we, you have to go?
Well, it's supposed to start.
In here?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So are there any questions from the media?
I think we said it all.
I know, we pretty much did. We don't have room for a lot of.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Did you want to ask something? Yeah. Yeah, no, if you have a question, we're happy to answer.
What is the next steps now? That you guys can go to trial. What's the next step?
Yeah, well, discovery will be ordered. Well, actually, I imagine that the judge will set a calendar. The lawyers will go back into the court and speak about the discovery. They will put in, every single thing that they want. The Saudis will argue every single thing that we want, and then the judge will make the determination. But it'll be up to the court to set the calendar, and then it'll have to be abided by. But it'll take a long time. It takes months and months and months every time the court hands something to the lawyers to do, and then the other side counters it, and then sometimes you get to counter that one more time. I mean, that can take, if that's 3 or 4 months, that's 1 year just to get one thing done. So it'll be a while, but it'll get there. I'll make sure the room.
Yeah, it gets back to where it was.
Fix it today. Yeah, absolutely, I can fix it today.
Precision Door Service, a name you can trust.
Good Day Philadelphia is sponsored by Rand and Mike Spear, the accident lawyers.